Hello guys, my name is Amit Saini and I welcome you in this Daily Hindu Analysis video. In the morning, these videos come. In the evening, the MCQ lessons, they come. Both the lessons you need to follow religiously. And every day we are discussing these important context, and every day this addition is happening in your preparation. And you do not know about this issue today, but after some months you will feel this difference, that you have opinion on almost all the contemporary important issues, and that's the maturity which is needed in this examination. So keep following these lessons. Sometimes these are boring things, sometimes these are monotonous things, but you have to keep going, and consistency is the key there. Paid courses are available at 159 rupees per month. Important faculties and very important courses, and this is the investment which is nothing in comparison to your success. So these are certainly affordable ones. Pocket News app trending on Google Play. You can download that. Regarding these courses, the descriptions are given below the video. You can call on these numbers for all your payment queries. If your card is not working or anything is happening, then you can call on these two numbers. These are given here. Okay, and regarding these courses also, you can call there. And PDF you will get here on this Telegram channel, which is given here on this Facebook group, and you can follow me on Instagram too. And some words that I found today, and the issue, first important issue, is the Nobel Prize in Economics, which is the popular name of the real name is Sveriges Riksbank Prize. This award, you see, is given to Abhijit Banerjee, who was born in Mumbai. He did his PhD from Harvard University in 1988, and he was here in 1981-82 in Jawaharlal Nehru University for his MA degree. So he is alumni there, and Esther Duflo is his wife. Okay, so first time a duo, a husband-wife duo, is given this important award, and Michael Kramer is the third person. So these three will be sharing this award. And important area is the developmental economics, and in the area of poverty alleviation, they have developed many specific models. It is not something that they have given a particular theory and it will be masterstroke for all the problems. It is not like that. They have done groundwork, field work, and they had developed a lot of solutions for small problems there. So in the next article which was there regarding this issue, here they told us that important carry out of a program in Rajasthan was there, where their model was applied, because the vaccination drive was going on and all the ladies were not coming with their kids for the vaccination there. So according to Banerjee's model, they gave a bag of pulses free to these women. So every single woman in the village, she came there and she got her kid vaccinated there. So this model worked. In a similar way, in Mumbai and Vadodara, they tried a different method for the learning outcomes, and he said that these contract teachers, they can be very beneficial, and it's a cost effective way. So this way you can afford many teachers there in many areas. You can give employment, and you can get the proper education for poor kids there, because many of the teachers, they won't be interested to go there in interior areas or in village areas. So that's a thing, and the permanent teachers, they will be very expensive for the state. So these are the cost effective ways, and other things also improved according to their model. So these are some examples that they have tried. In Delhi also a Chunauti scheme was launched, and that was also on Banerjee's model. So his field work based approach that these economists have perfected has revolutionized the field of development economics and made it more relevant in the policy making. That's the important issue. And typically the approach is derived from the concept of clinical trials in pharmaceutical industry. Means there they try drugs on some patients and all. Here they try these poverty alleviation models on poor populations. So these are not harmful, and these are extremely beneficial in some instances. So these are applied to real life situations. So that's why their models are very much practical. Amartya Sen's model was also developmental economics, but his way is way more practical, and these are trial based methods there. Okay, so it's the economics Nobel which is given to Mr. Banerjee and other two people, including his wife. So that's an important thing, and I have highlighted all those issues regarding their approach, the contract teachers example here, and on health also he made some models there. Regarding the credit also he told about it, and recently he said that India's economic path is not that much sound today and our ground is very shaky, so we need to get solution for many of the problems and we need to apply their right approach, because right now the economics of India is not very good. So he commented on the Indian situation also, and importantly he was the key person behind the idea of Nyaya scheme proposed by Congress before the elections. So that was also his idea, so that's important. Okay, so this way you can remember them. Mr. Kejriwal also thanked him because as I told you, the Chunauti scheme that they brought there in their government, that was also based on Banerjee's model. And Mr. Modi and all important personalities, they congratulated Mr. Banerjee for that. Okay, next, fast tag issue. We all know these are the important tags or the labels you can say. They will be put on the windscreen of the cars and vehicles, and they will be linked to bank accounts, and a prepaid account will be there for this fast tag issue for that payment. So automatically with the scanner, which will be using RFID technology, radio frequency identification technology, and it's very easy for that scanner because it uses the radio frequency there. So that's why in the surrounding area, if the vehicle is there, then it can certainly capture that. So the payment will be done very easily with that, and it will save a lot of time, it will save a lot of fuel. So ultimately it will save the nation's GDP loss. So that's something Mr. Gadkari was talking about. And the FASTag and the National Payment Corporation of India, these officials will be managing those issues, and these are card based payments, so NPCI is involved here. Okay, and the QR codes will be there on this FASTag, and other identification numbers will be there, so they will be recognized with the RFID antenna there. Okay, so that's the scanner. Next issue regarding the RTI, important for GS paper 2. Here RTI, you know the act, RTI Act 2005. According to the act, some things were mandatory, information giving was mandatory, and within a time period they needed to give, otherwise the penalties will be there. We discuss another article where the writer was telling that no penalties are imposed in some states, and in other states also only 2-3% penalties were inflicted. So these problems, they remain there, and some changes which were brought down here in the Amendment Act of 2019, these are highly problematic for the working of RTI institution. You know, CIC office was created for that, Central Information Commissioner and State Information Commissions were set up there. In all the departments, all the ministries, these public information officers will be there, and in the CIC, 1 Chief Information Commissioner will be there, and 10 Information Commissioners will be there. Earlier they were CIC was equal to CEC, Chief Election Commissioner. The powers, the security of the tenure and other conditions were equal to CEC, but now they said that CEC is a constitutional body, and this cannot be equal to CIC. So that's why the service conditions will be set by central government now. So the security of this tenure of the CIC will not be there for sure, and the condition and the pressure will certainly be there by the central government on the CIC office. So that's why it's a very tough hit on CIC's autonomy and its working there, and there can be indirect pressure from the government of India on CIC office, and they have changed many of the rules there. So that's the issue going on here. Supreme Court has become very sensitive about these issues, and Supreme Court seeks reply from center on RTI portals. Central government established an online RTI portal where an Indian citizen or NRI, they both can apply for information under the RTI Act, which is a mandatory requirement there. And any ministry, any department, they can ask questions, because if these are the public offices, then the information is necessary to be given. Okay, so that's the issue. But you see, some states, they have not established till now, and Delhi and Maharashtra, only two states have established their respective online portals for obtaining information there. So that's the problem. So these things may be asked in the prelims or for the mains. These are the very important and crucial points, and these establishments show the sincerity of the governments there, that how much accountability they want to have in the system. So that's the thing. Okay, next issue regarding the draft education policy. It was developed after all the opinions, and one important issue was of the preschool learning from 3 to 6 age group. The proper schooling will not start, but the preschooling will start, and it will be like these normal play schools and nurseries and all, where they play all the day and they learn with that playing. And if that learning is there with the help of rote learning and other things, if that is happening in the mother tongue, then it is better. That's the advice there, because in that age, these kids, they cannot learn new languages, and whatever they want to learn, the basics like the ABCs and other things, if they learn all these things with the help of their mother tongue, then things can be very effective. So that recognition is certainly there, and new curriculum NCERT is going to develop, and for this pedagogical framework for early childhood education, that's gonna come there very soon. So that's the issue, important for GS paper 2 and 3 both. Next issue regarding the cataract problem. You see, age related problem mainly, and if you remember the diagram of an eye, then there is a lens, macular structure is there, and that lens, it can stretch, it can contract, and the adjustment is done by the iliary muscles there. So the degeneration of this lens, because the degeneration of the protein inside it, that happens, and it becomes blurry, and a person cannot see through it. So that happens because of cataract. And other factors are also there, like too much vision under the direct sunlight there, and many other issues. So local regions are there, and financial constraints are also there. Because of that, this problem, this barrier in the life is not managed well, and many people, they lose their visibility, and they become blind because of that issue. So it's a major cause of blindness. You see, yesterday I discussed this issue, the vision report I talked about, which WHO has brought up for the first time, and it has talked about the glaucoma disease, it has talked about the trachoma disease. That's trachoma is the bacteria based infection in the eyes, glaucoma where the pressure increases and the visibility is lost, and the cataract problem, all the problems, the myopia, the presbyopia, all were discussed there. So please go through that lesson once, and that's why I say that that lesson is very, very important. Not miss that lesson. Okay, so I discussed those issues there, and I told you that billions of people, they are affected with the vision impairment issues, and because of this report, the sincerity is shown in recent times, and they are talking about these issues. So it's an unavoidable case. If any person is affected by cataract, then the remedy is needed as early as possible, and if it is not done, then that person can lose their vision permanently. Now other issues like the diabetes and the diabetic retinopathy. Diabetes is a major cause of damage of retina. If that diabetic problem is not managed well, then certainly it's a attack on the eyes, and many diabetic patients, they lose their vision permanently. So that's why this management is also very, very necessary. But here we are talking only about the cataract issue, and in the operation it's suggested then they remove the natural lens there and they can put the synthetic lens there. So that's the issue, and then a person has to wear glasses there because that lens is not flexible like the earlier ones. Now next issue, high quality fake notes are back. NIA talks about that. NIA, National Investigating Agency, is the nodal agency for these fake Indian currency notes issue. They investigated 48 cases and 13 ended in conviction. What is the issue here? Big questions are there in the announcements of the government and the media's role there. What not they said after the demonetization issue. They said that there will be no chances of fake notes now, and we will demonetize these 1,000 rupees notes and 500 rupees notes, and they will be a piece of paper simply, and it will hit the terror financing issue, black money issue, fake currency issue, and the fake currencies will not come back. But you see, in June this year, in Lok Sabha, government informed that 50 crore rupees fake currency notes have been seized till June month, and this is October now. And NIA says that high quality fake notes, which used to be there before demonetization for the earlier notes, these type high quality fake notes are back. So there is no difference and no impact in this area of the demonetization issue, and it has crumbled our economy for sure. So all the impacts are totally visible now. That demonetization issue, that decision was not that great, and in near future it may prove to be a disastrous thing, because many reports, many important revelations, many articles. We had an important article where the lady writer was citing all these statistics related to demonetization issue. So many of the writers, they have said that it was a disastrous move and it was executed without any proper thinking, and RBI officials and other people, they actually alarmed the government for this issue, but they went ahead with this, and all the goalposts were kept changing, and now this revelation. So we have to see regarding all these issues, and the reports which are coming, they are telling us that the wise decision making is actually the dire need in the economy, and that's why Mr. Banerjee, the Nobel Prize winner, Raghuram Rajan, all are talking about Indian economic condition today. But the ministers today, they are saying that it is all good, there is no problem, and economy is in sound condition. It is the agenda of the opposition parties and other things. So it's a typical politics, and it's a dirty politics, and it is shameless remarks about the situation there. Next, jute industry, golden fiber. You must be remembering about that. Regarding the jute issue, you know that major jute producing areas are the Bengal region, and before independence it was a united Bengal. After partition, the jute producing areas, the farming areas, they went to Bangladesh, or at that time it was East Pakistan, and the market remained with India. So it was a division that created a lot of problems there. But it's a very tough fiber, and jute bags are very, very strong. Jute ropes are very, very strong. And the Jute Packaging Material Act came in 1987. According to that, you see, they supported the jute production and the marketing of this fiber, and many schemes were brought up there. And additionally, right now 100% packaging of food grains and 20% of sugar packaging is mandatory in these jute gunny bags. So you know these bags, you must have seen these brown bags, jute bags, and they are very, very strong. So the packaging is necessary, and they are very much eco-friendly. That's the biggest advantage. Okay. Now in the news, jute industry told to step up supply of sacks for kharif crops, because these packaging of the food grains, that will be done in these jute bags. So that's something really important. Next, Gujarat brings out new port policy. That's a regional news, but some issues can be taken from here. So Gujarat is developing its new port policy, and it has the longest coastline there. If you stretch that coastline, then it is 1600 kilometers. So it is the biggest. It has 4 private ports along the coastline and 33 captive jetties, and they handle about 45% of the cargoes. So private ports handle about 46% of the total cargoes, and which are handled by this GMB, Gujarat Maritime Board, which is the main nodal agency for port regulation there. So that's important, and now they are going to allow 33 private jetties to handle third party cargo. So this is done by GMB, and the new port policy is on the way. Next issue, now we will come to the articles. Here, financial stability and the RBI. Pulapre Balakrishnan's very important article, GS paper 2 and 3 is going to be important here. Here he talks about the issue that RBI recently carried out its mandatory bi-monthly policy announcements. We all know since February 135 basis points are changed, they are lowered actually. So these days, as we discussed in another article also, that only practical tool which is available today, I mean practically, I'm adding the word here, practically RBI is exercising this power only, the repo rate changing, and with this way inflation targeting is the main move. MPC, Monetary Policy Committee, was created in 2016, and 6 members are there, we all know about that. So the sole aim is the inflation targeting there, and this role has become the center stage of all the working of RBI. We followed indirectly the Western central bank methodologies. Today, these Western countries, they are more or less rethinking this issue, that the role of central bank, how much big it should be, how much central it should be. It's not an elected body, but it exercises a lot of authority. And after the 2008 crisis especially, all these problems which occurred, many theories, many particular ways of central banks, they failed. The regulation that was not that much effective, and the banks failed, so the role became very controversial, and they all are rethinking the central role of these banks. Now RBI is the central bank of this country, we all know about that, bankers bank, government's banker, and it announces these policy changes there, the monetary policy mainly, and with the help of the changing in these numbers of repo rate and all. So that's the issue. Now arguably, this line is very relevant. Arguably, though the public would have perhaps been more interested in knowing how the RBI intends to respond to the unusually large number of instances of fraud that have surfaced in the financial sector of late. PMC issues going on, a lot of problems are going on with Yes Bank and ICICI Bank, that was also under a kind of suspicion, and after the crumbling of ILFS, these issues are going on. So people are very much afraid that their money, is it safe in the banks? Government mandated all these issues, the benefit transfers and all these subsidies and all, they will come in the bank account. So it's mandatory for all the people to open bank accounts, and all of the people, they put their money in the banks today. But if the situation will become like the Punjab Maharashtra Cooperative Bank, then it's going to be a disastrous thing, and it's seriously a crime. One thing is that you push all the people and you restrict all these people in the mainstream banking sector, and then people have these blows, like their money is stuck there and the limit is put on the transactions and the withdrawal there. And in this festival season, in this season of marriages, people are crying on the road, but there is no solution. Although cooperative banks, they are established by the state governments, and recently the Kerala Bank was allowed by RBI, but the allowance is given by RBI, the note is given by RBI, the licensing and the business operations, they are regulated by RBI there. So that's why the role of RBI is extremely important, and that is why people were more interested to know about those unusually large number of instances of frauds and the issues which are going on. So RBI must have told something about that those were the expectations. But now the other problem is bigger here, the role of central bank here. Western countries, they say that the model which all were following, the model revolves around the goal of maximum creation of wealth by private individuals, unimpeded by societal objectives. This is something the mode of capitalism, and in practicality, if you see the level of inequality, then this model is being followed. The private sector, the corporate sector, that is heavily supported because we have evidences for that. And the societal conditions, they are like more and more welfare schemes only are there, and the income distribution is not proper as it was envisaged in the DPSPs of Indian Constitution. So that issue is not visible on the ground. And maximum creation of wealth by private individuals, that was supported by Western countries, and now in India also this is happening. Now when applied to finances, this model requires of the government only one action, namely the control of inflation. We know that state intervention is there, and RBI central bank plays an important role, but as I told you, the practical condition today is that they have only one working tool, that is inflation targeting, and that RBI has been doing for all these years. Inflation rose to very high numbers in 2011, 12, 13, and at that time the oil prices were also very high. So at that time this role became very important. RBI went for inflation targeting. But you see, there are certain conditions, like if the inflation is anticipated, then it's better. If it is coming unanticipated, then it can be a major problem for the market and the producers there, because they cannot see the condition, because if the inflation rises, then it helps the borrowers for sure, but it devastates the lenders. If inflation rises, then banks are under a lot of trouble, because you can take the example there, if somebody is taking a loan of 4 lakh rupees, and after 5 years it will pay in total 6 lakh rupees, but after 5 years the value of 4 lakh rupees is equal to 7 lakh rupees today. So practically that person is not even paying the principal amount, leave about the interest there. So banks took 6 lakh rupees in total, with 2 lakh rupees interest and 4 lakh rupees the principal amount, but due to inflation it is all wasted. So that's why lenders are under trouble and borrowers are benefiting here. But the inflation condition affects these producers and their price mechanism there, because if inflation is going to rise, if they know about that, then they will give all those inputs according to that situation, and if the inflation is not going to rise, then their prices will be affected accordingly. So this way inflation situation is very, very important. But you see here the writer is talking about a problem, that where inflation is related to an employment condition, because a theory suggests that if the inflation rises, then the employment rises, because in the starting phase, it is not for always, it is for the starting phase, for a particular time. Inflation rises, then the sellers, they earn more, they keep all these employees happy, because they are well paid, and additional employees are also kept there. So this way employment rises, the production rises, and production rises, then the prices are also balanced, and more production, more supply, and if the good demand is there, then it's good, it's all good in the booming economy, as it was the phase after 2004-5 actually in this economy, and it remained till 11-12. But after that the problems started looming. So the issue is that, is it the sole goal of RBI to check the inflation there with the help of interest rate changing, the repo rate changing. Is it the right goal? No, because a sentence says that in fact in situations where growth, employment and inflation are jointly determined and mostly they are inflation targeting via interest rate, they can lower inflation only by suppressing the growth. Means inflation may come down with the interest rate rise, but it will suppress the economy, and maybe this is the situation going on with the Indian economy right now, because the inflation targeting mainly started in this phase in 2013 and the end of the 13 year. After that, inflation is low, retail inflation is also low, and the important WPI inflation is also low. So it is kept low, and MPC was also created for that same goal, but the economy is also suppressed and the employment is also suppressed, and this connection is well observed in the Indian economy, that inflation is directly proportional to employment scenario, and for a particular phase which can be a kick giving phase in the economy. Okay, because it's a business cycle, and if a kick is given, then it will move further in the cycle. So that employment is gone, and especially after the demonetization phase, it is very hardly hit. Here now a question arises: is this an argument for leaving inflation unchecked? No, they have to keep the inflation in check, but the other issues, the concerns of the financial sector, they need to manage there, because alone inflation targeting will not help. Other issues they need to manage there, because after the crisis of 2008, all the countries are rethinking about the central role of the RBI, and they think that this should not be the central stage role of the central bank there, that they are only focused about the inflation targeting. All these theories, all these issues, they failed after this crisis. So that's why it is not prudent to go in that way. But India is establishing this particular norm that inflation targeting is the main task of RBI. That's not the good thing, and they actually affected this by legislation in 2015, where Western economies think it is not a wise decision, it's not a prudent thing, and in India this is being fixed with legislation. This is something bizarre, and the situation right now which is here in India of the inflation targeting plus slowing growth, that imitates the US situation. Rising NPAs, instability in the private segment, financial sector is under a lot of stress, the crumbling of ILFS, and all these issues with the banks which are going on, the evidence of malfeasance that went undetected in these banks like PNB, Punjab and Maharashtra Cooperative Bank, Yes Bank, ICICI banks. These things they need to manage there. Okay, and they will help in the inflation checking. Only the changes in the interest rate, that will not help, because that is affecting the employment scenario there, and that is suppressing the economy in some sense. So this is something, a unique understanding out of this issue, and these things are not so simple. More technical words are used here. So in simple words, you just need to understand this, that they need to manage these extraneous regions, and inflation must be in check, but the virtual redefinition of central bank's function, that must be there, and the televised monetary policy statements every 2 months would be no more than a charade. Means that will not be helpful. The consistent changes are happening, but the impact is not seen. Why? Because the other factors like the extraneous regions that I told you regarding the banks, ILFS issue and other things in the financial sector, if those things are not managed well, then this thing will not help, and it is only going to suppress the economy further. So thanks a lot, keep watching.